In our series on pottery, we continue in the next step. So to create an artwork just like this, many steps. And why we do this artwork is not that we're talking just literally about it, but we talk about the metaphors, how creating a work of art applies to our lives. So to get to the state, you first start with the clay. And Gary showed that it takes a lot of kneading of the clay, and that applies to me and to us, like we need to become softer and malleable. So the Old Testament, often it says God's people had a hard heart. And when we resist, when we're tough, when we're stuck, it feels almost like to become softer, what someone who gives you a good massage would do. Just soften up, get those tough spots out. The next step was like take that piece of clay and throw it. And that's from where the name comes, throwing a pot. So throwing not the ready-made pot, but throwing the soft clay, and it has to stick well, it has to be grounded. Otherwise, it'll wobble out of whack and end up on your walls in the studio. And when you finally got that clay down, it needs centering. And that is, for me, one of the harder parts, the centering, just to be sure it's all focused, centered. And don't we all need the centering? And then it's being opened up, and we need to be opened up for the living one, and then it's being pulled up and lifted up. And we're all being lifted up, and then it's being shaped, and as we are shaped in the image of God, and then we're coming to the fire. And the firing in a kiln heats the pot so hot that it's almost melting. So it's coming to the melting point. If you would heat it up a little bit more, it would sag and would fall apart, melt. And while it's being heated and fired so hot, everything changes in it. It's being transformed. It's being changed. The molecules rearranged, and it's melting together, and it's becoming like stone. That's why it's called stoneware, when you fire it this high, as Gary fired this pot. And don't we sometimes feel that fire in our lives? Trial by fire. I was way fresh out of seminary and was in Germany in a congregation serving as associate pastor. And well, what do associate pastors do? They teach confirmation class. So I taught confirmation class, but what I didn't know is that those 22 confirmants, they were not like our confirmants here. They were rambunctious teenagers. And that's when I started pulling my hair out. No, I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do. I felt like they were stepping over me. I felt like at a loss. So trial by fire. Now, we have all experienced that, trial by fire, and we heard the fiery furnace, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. What happens when they experience the fire is they recognize, first of all, they're not being obliterated and all burned up. They can make it through the fire, and we are often survivors of heat and fire and pressure and being bumped into and shaped and formed. And the second thing is the angel of God, and it says when they looked into the fiery furnace, there was a fourth figure, and it says, just like the Son of a Man or the Son of God, feels like God was with them in the fire. And don't we sometimes experience that, even when it's only in hindsight that we recognize it? So what does fire do? Fire for us, well, it strips us of all that is not as necessary, not so important. It purifies us. It reveals what we're made of. Often you heard the saying, character is built under pressure. So when you're under pressure, when you have that looming over you, or when you're in the fire, something can happen to us that is being refined. And this is how a foundry works. When you think of the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, it was created in a foundry. Now, the foundry, what does it do? They put all the metal in this vessel, and they heat it all up. Well, the molten metal has impurities. So while it's being heated, the impurities float to the surface and create a black foam. And that black foam is swept off the vessel. It's swept off. And that is dross, or what's the other word for it? What is it? Sorry about this. Slag. The slag, the dross, you wipe it off. And you do it as long until you can see the face, your own reflection in the molten metal. And that's when it's ready to be poured into the mold. So I think this being scraped off, this being refined and purified, that is what's happening to us. And I think that is the deeper meaning of purgatory. Now, I do not believe in purgatory like our Catholic sisters and brothers do, as at the end of life and after we die. But I think there is some heat we take, some trial by fire right here and right now, that can help us be purified, for imperfections to be burned away, for us to become more real, for us to become solid, rock solid, for us to be transformed to become as real as God is real in and through the fire. And this refining, this becoming real, the imperfections being burned away, that is actually happening when gold is extracted from gold ore. So the old traditional way of extracting, you had all the rocks and there were small little tiny particles of gold in it. So how do you get the gold out? Well, you grind it up, you pour mercury on top of it, and you mix the mercury, the gold, the sand, everything together. Well, when you have the mercury and the gold, you can get the sand out, and then you take the blowtorch to it, and the mercury evaporates, and the gold is left. Never do this by yourself at home. Because if you have evaporated mercury around you, not so good. But an old way to extract gold from ore. There's a different kind of heat that we all need in our bones, and that's what I tried to convey a little bit to the children in the children's message. We need some fire in our bones, some fire in our belly to stand up for what matters. No, we're not meant to be walked over to always say yes, 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 to be a doormat, to be the person who always takes the blame, or to walk on eggshells, or to always be nice, nice, nice. No, we're not to be that. Anger and heat can be a protective factor that we all need, and that can find expression in when you tell someone else, like, knock it off, stop it. We had this bystander intervention training a couple of years ago. Christiana Paradis from Susquehanna came and said, what do you do when you see someone being bullied or someone being attacked? Well, first step is, knock it off, push them back, and then care for the one who has been hurt or injured, whether physically or not. So there, it is important to find expression as well. So coming back to my first experience, trial by fire, was confirmation class, 22 of them, rambunctious teenagers. I went to my mentor and said, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And he said, well, you're too nice. You're not putting your foot down. You're not getting it together. Well, what I ended up with, 2 groups of confirmants. One group was 10, one was 12, and I taught 2 groups of confirmants. So that's how I made it through. In the kiln, in the fire, we are getting transformed. Where and how did you experience fire, human or divine, that transformed you, that shaped you, that purified you, and that refined you?